Hello everyone and welcome to VRP Season 2 Round 9. I have no audio from the game, so I have just been thrown off massively. Okay, yeah, I have no audio from the game, so I have no idea why that is. Is everything actually working? It is working. Okay, well we'll just make do without that. We're in Canada and the Ferrari is updated, that's sick. Tim Rolfes, currently the only person to set an actual time, 1:10. Only 17 drivers today, and Liam has a quali ban, so he's out, and Omar is out for unexplainable reasons, because I did not see that. Just get everything up. Why is there no audio? There's audio in the pause menu. I've got audio! I'm a freaking genius. Yes, Gustav, I will invite you. Of course I will. Right, let's start again. Hello everyone, welcome to Season 2, Round 9 at Montreal. It's not Tim Rolfes on provisional pole anymore, it's Lewis, and now it's Avesta, one of the people going for the title, championship leader of Avesta, and we're watching Felper block Charlie significantly through those corners. I'm sure he's not going to be happy about that. Riding through underneath the Salesforce barrier towards the hairpin. So my controller dies. The other McLaren gets out of the way better than Felper had, and it's not good traction from the Mercedes driver as he powers his way down the long straight. You want a good exit there because the straight goes on for quite a while. DRS open in towards the final chicane. This track made up of literally infinity chicanes as he makes his way through it, not very convincingly, to the line. It's not going to be a great lap from him. And that shows. He goes P6 as Ducky enters the lobby. That's good to see. My controller died. Why am I trying to use it? I'm a freaking idiot. There we go. And speaking of Ducky, he's on a lap. And he puts himself into the top 4. Don't think he's qualified. Well, he hasn't qualified inside the top 10 all season so far. So that would be by far his best result. It's Lord Purcell who's joined the lobby, not Ducky. Blaze Tim in the Alpine. I think he's reserved for literally every team so far this season. We'll ride on board with him. Very strong result last time out. Around Koto. Strong points for Haas. Haas, a team who tend to struggle in VRP so far. Although they're not at the foot of the standings, I don't think. I think that's Williams now. And Williams who already have one driver out of quali. So, not the best start for them. But Blaze Tim rounds the final, or the hairpin, got a better exit than Charlie did when we rode on board with him. And in his Alpine, he powers now down towards the Wall of Champions, hoping to keep it out of the barrier, which he does. Might pick up a slight slipstream from the McLaren in front, who pulls out the way and he goes into the top 5. Just behind Afonso, who's on the medium tyres yet again in the quali session. Right on board with Vito, making his debut. He is a reserve, filling in for either Sultan or Zauber. Neither Red Bull main driver is here with us in today's race, as that was the Aston Martin of Harry going up to P7 on a 1:11.1. So not a competitive time compared to the leaders. Harry, one of the guys in the title fight, as Vito goes P8. The 4 guys in the title fight to look out for: the leader of the championship and leader of this quali session, Avesta. Afonso P4 is P2 in the standings, then Harry sitting P7, and the 4th and Last of the title rivals on paper is Lord Percival, who leaves the pits for the first time, going off to set his first lap as Quentin comes into the pits yet to set a time. I don't believe Harry's on a lap. So we will ride on board with Tim, who sets up his lap. He was the first to set a time in this session. Can he now push himself back to the front as a Ferrari leaves just in front of him and just about gets out of the way? Maybe a slight distraction for the Dutchman, but Tim Rollfish carries on as he doesn't invalidate through the second chicane. Sweeping around these, not really corners to be honest. There's a purple sector 1, he's a 10th up. That would be potentially enough through the third chicane on the track, which then exits into a DRS zone. Braking under the bridge for the fourth chicane off the track. Again, easy to invalidate there. You ride one of those curves that can jump you off the track. Powers his way now down into the hairpin. Gotta get a good rotation and focus yourself on the exit. Don't bang the wall trying to get into traction too early. Don't spin trying to get into traction too early either, as the DRS now slams open. Swings open and then slams shut as he comes into the fifth chicane off the track. Maybe the most difficult, the most high speed for sure, as we ride on board as he comes towards the line. Tim Rollfish puts in a 109.8 and it takes him to the top. Can the others respond? Lewis is on the lap. Had a quali ban last time out, but I believe he's had a pole position in this league before, so the newly confirmed main team driver at Alpine replacing Pilot Stig bombs it through the chicane and loses the rear, goes into the wall. I'm not sure he suffered damage, but his lap is definitely over and he will make his way back to the pits, you'd expect. Afonso is on a lap, Lord Percival is as well, so we'll watch him on the timings, but Afonso now goes through the chicane where we saw Lewis have trouble. I said riding those curves that can cause trouble, we saw it with Lewis. Afonso in that beautiful Ferrari goes around the final corners. Charlie puts it into the top 4. One-time race winner in this league. Lord Percival can only go to P8 on his first lap. And the McLaren has also just started his lap. I think that's Quentin. As Afonso into the final corner. Yellow flag is just clear up. That's good for him. The number 5 Ferrari. We've seen this car win so many times in real life. Afonso, can he take his car to pole? Yes he can, it's a 109.6 and a bit of daylight between himself and the rest of the field. Avesta was also on a lap, pushing everything to try get his pole position back. Can he go to provisional pole? He can't. Closes to within a 10th but takes P2. Back ahead of Tim Rollfish. And Lewis did not jump into the pit, so he got no damage from his incident. So he comes back round to the corner where he had his little moment. There's the yellow flags just ahead. I think that's Charlie getting out of the way. And he's wide again. Bangs the wall. Invalidates. Just to make sure of it. He's having troubles around there for sure. Harry is improving, but not significantly. Down in P9, struggling ever so slightly. Keeps it on track under the double Salesforce barrier. Heavy braking. One of the most difficult on braking this track. Accelerates into third gear and down long straight, which is probably where we'll see majority overtaking here in turn 1. Overtaking into the chicane is always a risk for sure, but the Aston Martin powers its way to the line. The sole Aston Martin in this session. He proves into 9th, just one position, which he takes back from Quentin, who's just set his first lap of the session. I believe both Hasses may be on a lap now. King Kiski is way down, so he's not. Both Hasses struggling in this session. Hazard time slightly up, but that little moment for him is not going to help improve his time. As Quentin dives into the pits. Currently P11, a position which he I don't know if he loves it, but he seems to finish there quite a lot. Just recently started improving by getting himself into the points with I believe a P8 and a P10. As the action on track has quieted, but Forever Sin, our one driver on an outlap, so we'll go on board with him. Interesting helmet design, has to be said. Yet to score a point, yet to qualify inside the top 12. And slams the wall for good measure on his outlap. Should have got away with that. I know F1 cars are weak, but even on reduced damage he should have got away with that. So Alfonso leads from Avesta, Tim Rolfesh in P3, Lewis, Charlie, Vito on his debut in P6, marginally ahead of the other reserve of Blaze Tim. TM Ducky, Lord Purcell, Harry rounds out the top 10 as into the pits comes Forever Sin. Bailed on his outlap, maybe he did get damage. One of the McLarens comes out. So Lord Purcell has jumped into P9, I've missed that. Or, well, either he's jumped into P9 or someone's gone ahead, which has forced him down a position. But I missed that. Apologies. Felper now the only driver on track. Started the season very strongly, did Felper, in his first full season. Maybe slightly fallen away recently, and I don't know if he's trying to burn some fuel here before his lap starts. He's revving out that engine in third gear. Hazard Time and Lewis now enter the track as well. Kinkiski, Hazard Time's teammate as well, comes out with a slide. We've got 3 minutes just in this session left. And it's Felper who'll be one of the first to come across the line. And I'm not sure if he's going for 2 laps here or if he's going for an early lap, but coming up behind him is Hazard Time, so he now takes ahead of Felper, who is going slowly, burning that fuel as much as he can before his lap. Maybe his plan was to go for 2 laps, realised he didn't have the time, now trying to desperately burn that fuel away. So watch Hazard Time start his lap, deep into the chicane, not a good way to start it, but if that's the only mess up of his whole lap, I don't think he'll mind very much. Into turn 1 he comes. Into 4th, down to 3rd, wide, misses the apex on exit. Does mean he can get onto the power a bit earlier though. Doesn't want to cut too much of this. Maybe didn't cut enough of the exit curb, but tight to the wall, too tight, inside the wall he goes. Little knock, but he'll get away with that. Now traction can be difficult out of here. Bit scruffy, but he's in a straight line. It's a 1:12.2 to beat for his own personal best. Bit unsure on the braking into the 4th chicane on the track. Into the braking zone off the hairpin. Down to 2nd, get the rotation. And he accelerates in 2nd as well, just to get maximum traction, but the risk of spinning there. Flat out all the way to the chicane. Pick his braking spot, pick his line. It's a bang against the wall, and it's an invalidation, and Hazard Time will qualify last out of all the drivers who are on track. Right, Lewis is out. I was just about to ride on board with him, but he has crashed his car. Once again in that same spot, he's put it in the wall. And that's an issue for him. Vito, who I think has been impressive on his debut so far, has just invalidated on his lap. I don't know if he has time to get around and start another one, but that's disappointing for him. He's shown promise so far as Ducky moves up to P6. Great lap from him. I think Lord Purcell will just start on a lap, so Avesta has invalidated as well. Is there time to get around? It will be tight to the line, but you might just about get there. Forever Sin sets a lap, stays bottom. Not great from him. Harry now starting his lap, and Tim Rollfish comes to the line. This will be his lap. No, it won't. He's invalidated. Can he go again? He saved DRS. He can go again. Charlie now. Committed through the last corner. To the line. Charlie MG06 stays P5, improved by just over a tenth, but it wasn't enough. We'll go on board with Afonso. One of the title protagonists, current provisional pole sitter, opens the DRS. One of his title overs, Avesta is out. He will not improve his time. Afonso, can he secure pole? He's got Tim Rollfish to worry about, who's on a lap as well. Afonso to the line. Doesn't improve. Tim Rollfish isn't improving, and he's invalidated. So many drivers having issues at the end of this session. Blaze Tim improving and kicking out through the chicane. It was good to see, but I'm not sure it was fast. He's kicking out again through the hairpin. I'm not sure this is going to improve his time all too much. Tim Rollfish, as we saw, has invalidated, but Lord Percival, his teammate, dives into the pits. So unless there's some heroics from Blaze Tim, as Enzo joins potentially just in time, I'm not sure. Blaze Tim to the line. Will he improve? Can he grab at least one position? He can. P7 improves by just under a tenth. Good performance there. He makes his way as the highest reserve on the grid, as that is qualifying finito. Afonso takes pole. And that is huge in the title fight, just ahead of his, just ahead of the championship leader Avesta and Tim Rollfish, who, as we've seen, is a very, very good qualifier. Sits in P3. I'm a better commentator than driver. That's not difficult. If I could string 3 words together, I'd be a better commentator than driver. Lewis is P4 ahead of Charlie. TM Ducky with his by far his best quali. He hasn't finished in the top 10 so far this season in the race or quali. P6 he sets up for this race. In fact, actually, I think TM Ducky might have just about scraped in the top 10 last round. Not sure. In quali, that is. Blaze Tim P7, Vito on his debut in P8. The sole South American in our league. Lord Percival P9 and Harry P10. So all title protagonists next to each other inside the top 10. However, there is 6 cars that separate 2 sets of them. King Kiski just misses out on the top 10. Quentin and Felper also miss out. Frevison P14 ahead of Hazard Time. Omar doesn't set a lap. King Enzo is in the lobby, that's good to see. Lim Huiz and Bino both had quali bans, so no laps from them. Means a potential guaranteed driver of the day though, so look out for that on the Instagram. Virtual Racing Project. Always be plugging. That looks very close to raining. I think it's just cloudy. But you never know. Rain may be on the horizon. That would be interesting around a street track in a league race. Cheers, Ryan. Love that comment from you. So true. Left formation lap time. King Enzo did get in. 19 drivers. That's nice. Means Red Bull have another driver. Someone's spun on formation up. It's Lewis again. What does that even say? What I don't want to know what it says, but half that message is cut off. Leave me alone. Go play FM or something. Stop harassing me. Right. So moving back to F1, Alfonso is on pole from Avesta. Into turn 1, this could be chaotic. Those two fighting for the championship. Ciao. And if anything comes a cropper between those two, Tim Rollfish definitely will be eyeing up a potential move. We should see what tyres everyone is on. And a huge split in strategy. Mediums for the top 5, hards for Ducky. He's going different. Speaking of different, Blaze Tim on the softs, Vito on mediums. Lord Percival and King Kiski both opting for the hards. Sandwiching Harry on the mediums. Quentin as well, going for that middle of the range tyre. Freverson has a time. Limhuis, Bino settling for that as well. Felper going for the softs, aggressive at the start. Going long at the back of the field, Omar and King Enzo. Huge split in strategy. And Alfonso has messed up his grid parking. That's not the best start. King Enzo misses it as well. We'll leave the track map up. Got Haas very out of position at the back there, but the lights will come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can count, and that's lights out, and away we go. Avesta got a poor launch, and Alfonso is way out in front. Tim Rollfish and Lewis both jump him. And further back, TM Ducky even looking to make the move. A little bit of a hip barge from the Williams driver. And it looks like Avesta will probably get clear of him, but out in front, Lewis looking for an early move on Tim. That could result in contact, and they both just about get away with it. Bunches up the field. Further back, there were some issues for some drivers. I think Charlie's involved, and Harry at the back there, losing his wing. Going wide and into the wall. Charlie's had issues on that one as well. He's getting swallowed up and nearly loses the rear. All sorts of contact going on throughout the field, but Alfonso is still your lead driver ahead of Tim, Avesta, moving back ahead of Lewis, who had those issues when trying to make a move on Tim. And Ducky's under pressure from the reserve of Vito, as there are so many wide going into the hairpin. That looks pure chaos. Harry's lack of front wing causing a real mess at the back of the field. There's yellow flags. I think that's Forever Sin, who's had a spin at the back in the traction zone off the hairpin. As Vito going for the move on Ducky, hits the wall, and Felber, who had such a great start on the softs, goes into the back of him and loses part of his front wing. Vito's going to make that move. Ducky struggling on those hard tyres. And Quentin looking to stick his nose up the inside as well, and spins the two of them. And Ducky, who had such a great qualifying, that's a shame to see. Quentin just going for a move, and the two came together. Bino already up from the back of the field to 11th. Both the Hasses benefiting from the start. 8th and 9th. Felper on the soft tyres into P6, but with wing damage, and Charlie's recovered back to P7, practically where he qualified. And he'll get past Felper, who has that damage, as I say, as Quentin gets past Bino, and Felper lets Charlie through, so he's gonna come into the pits this lap. Blaze Tim, who also started on the softs, got a good start, came into the pits, is now onto the hard tyres. Avesta's retaken the position from Tim. I've missed that at the front, so he can charge back after Alfonso after a poor launch. Typical Alfa Romeo, getting poor launches off the start. Harry, of course, came into the pits as well for that wing damage, and Freverson, who must have spun into a wall because he's come into the pits as well, fitted the hard tyres and received a penalty, probably for speeding in the pit lane, as Alfonso sets the fastest lap. Can that be matched by anyone? No, it cannot. DRS enabled. Freverson, there it is, a 3-second time penalty. I'm not sure if that's on top of what he already has. That would be a very poor start otherwise. As Felper now dives into the pits, he replaces his softs for some mediums. And that's the entire field already off the softs after just 3 laps off this race. Team Ducky also now coming into the pits. Such a great quali for him, promised so much, and ended early. He ditches his hards, which he struggled on the start, for some medium. Someone who didn't struggle off the start on the hards is King Kiski, make up positions and closing in on Charlie, who's on the mediums, having made his way past Felper on lap 2. Has a time who's on the softer set of tyres behind King Kiski, closing in as well. May see a bit of Haas teamwork here. Two solid drivers in that Haas this season so far. Performed quite well as Tim Ducky, who's now dropped to the back of the field, receives a time penalty, and it's gone from bad to worse for the Irish driver. At the front, Afonso, after that lap 1, has managed to run away, and it's Tim and Lewis who are within DRS, and Limhuis is out the session and the safety car is out. Omar dives into the pits, and will we get to see the incident? We will not. Into the wall of champions he went. Limhuis out for yet another race, and he's damaged the barriers too much. There's a red flag, and Bino has been disqualified from the back of the grid. Disqualified in quali from a quali ban, and disqualified from the race. Not sure what's happened to him. Mercedes' form just keeps getting worse, and they've lost a driver now already. Bino subbing in for Dylan, his former teammate. The red flag brings opportunities. It gives Avesta yet another chance off the start to try and get Afonso this time and not mess up the launch quite as much as he did last time. From what I hear, it was Harry and Charlie who's had an incident together. Trevor Sin's out the race as well, and Limhuis retired with contact with Quentin, I believe. From what I hear, plenty of drivers getting jump starts. Enzo, Lord Percival, Quentin jumping the start. They have drive-throughs. Afonso once again gets the better launch on the medium tyre compared to Vesta on the hard. But Avesta got a better launch than last time. Lewis, who's on the softs, will look to gain the positions off the start. He's jumped Tim already, but he's got a penalty off the start and bangs the wall yet again, looking to go round the outside, which turns to the inside on Avesta, and he gets that done on a much softer compound. And Afonso once again running away off the start. The penalties are coming out already. Has a time with a 3 second. As Charlie looks to make a move on Tim Rolfesh. And he forces Tim slightly wide at a corner where Charlie has had a famous incident before. Tim rejoins in the correct, well, not sure the correct manner, but I don't think those race director notes were sent around, so there's no rejoin expected from anyone. Vito makes his way past Tim after he's forced slightly wide, after he forced Charlie slightly wide. Contact between the three as they battle along the straight into the chicane. Will there be contact? No, they all get away with it. Further back though, that's King Enzo having some troubles with the AlphaTauris. Having to skip over the chicanes. As into the braking zone he goes. Outbrakes his AlphaTauri rival, Lord Percival, moving down a position. The two Hasses sitting in the top 10 still, and both trying to double team this AlphaTauri. They need to not get in each other's way here though. And they both make it through the corner. Has a time this time ahead of King Kiski. King Kiski now with the penalty to join his teammate on that front. And remember, 3 drivers with drive-throughs: Lord Percival, Quentin, and someone else in that. I just saw TM Ducky has spun. The other driver was in Enzo with a drive-through. As Lewis closes in on the leader Afonso, as he would. He's on the soft compound tyre. It's not going to get him very long into this race, but it's going to get him the positions and potentially a far lead if he can keep those tyres alive for long enough and utilise that huge pace maximum as he makes the overtake on the Ferrari into the final corner. Nice move. He needs to keep it out of the wall and hope others get penalties, which they are doing. It's Tim Rolfish now with a 3 second. Lord Percival comes in to serve his drive through as Omar speeds into the pit lane. And Afonso, we just saw there, makes the move back past Lewis after he had some oversteer. That's a very ambitious move from Lewis, and it's taken Afonso out of the race. He's lucky ghosting is on so he can turn his car back around, but he's going to be significantly down the field at the back of the pack now, and Lewis will be in trouble for that move. He's got wing damage, I believe, because he's losing positions now. He does, he's missing an end plate. Down to P4, Vito and Tim Rollfish get past and he cannot turn his car. Rides it over the curb and losing the positions he goes. Race of attrition, lap 8, 3 drivers out and many having incidents, many getting penalties. But it's Vito now the lead driver on that medium tyre. Can he pressure the 2 ahead of him? Afonso having that spin, not to his own fault from looking at it first time round, as into the pits comes Enzo to serve his drive through. But from first viewing it seems unlucky for Afonso and it could cost him dearly in this title fight, as championship leader turned race leader of Festa 2.3 out ahead of a driver who has a penalty. Vito trying to pressure Tim, but being pressured from behind as well by Charlie, who's had an eventful start to this race. Hasn't many though. And this lot have a nice gap behind them. Kinkiski and P5 now benefiting from drivers either having incidents or drive-throughs, as ahead Charlie makes his way past Vito due to a bit of lag, I think. I think he's probably lagged back there and given Charlie the position, but it's a podium position nonetheless for the Mercedes driver, looking to recover some kind of form, get back to the podium for the first time since Qatar as he drives through the smoke caused by the lockup of Tim Rollfish, his rival just ahead. Tim Rollfish just 2 points behind Charlie in the championship, as a crash further back is Team Ducky who brings out the safety car, and well, Ducky had such good qualifying, it's fallen apart from him in the races. Back-to-back DNFs, and it's a pit stop for Charlie. Benefiting from the safety car on the mediums. I have to say, it's going to go to the hards, and I'm surprised many others on those mediums aren't choosing the same strat. Blaze Tim's in again. 2 lap old mediums, but either way, got to get them off, get to the hards. Quentin will benefit from this as well, and Afonso, who was on mediums, goes to hards as well. And the safety car gives him an opportunity to attack back up the field, as Enzo as well comes into the pits. Vito, Kinkiski, Hazard Time, Felper or Purcell sticking true to their medium strategy and not utilising the safety car period, as the field is split between mediums and hards, and softs for Omar at the very back. I'm not sure he's going to see it through with that strat. And just watching a replay now of Lim Huiz's incident. It was with Quentin into the final corner, battling side by side. Lim Huiz had the inside into the chicane. It seems he lost it on traction, and Quentin, who was side by side with him, he spun into the side of Quentin and straight into the wall. On first viewing, didn't look anyone's fault, just looked like a racing incident, but that's just one view. I'm sorry I couldn't catch that on stream, but it's been a chaotic start, a lot of stuff happening, and this safety car period is given the opportunity for things to settle down, as second time around the safety car comes around the track. It doesn't look like anyone's doubting their strategy to the point where they have to bail on it. Further back though, Enzo, who did pit onto the mediums, stays out, and Omar still on those softs. Will he stick with that? Let's look at the position gain. Who's had the best of it so far? Has a time moving right from the back, qualified last out of everyone who set a time, up to P6, up 9, hasn't pitted yet though. Kinkiski as well in the Haas, good start from him. Afonso, as we know, huge downfall, and Lewis, who was a part of that downfall, moving down positions as well. Omar stays out on his soft tyre strategy. Made 3 stops already, and when it comes to penalties, if I can actually find that. Where do they hide the penalties now? There it is. Everyone has served their drive-through from the looks of it. That's good news for them all. Well, I feel like Quentin had a drive-through, and it doesn't look like he's lost many positions, so... Although Lord Purcell had one as well, so maybe they have served them. But, speaking of Quentin, he has a 6 second. 3 for Lewis, 3 for Blaze Tim, 3 for both the Hasses and Tim Rollfish at the very front. One of the first front runners to get a penalty in this race. That will cost him all the way through unless others join him on that penalty front, which, you know, is a track where cutting corners is almost an inevitability. So we'll see penalties throughout the field. Question of how many. Similar to Qatar, who Afonso won on penalties. Felpo won across the line there. Can he repeat that? Can he repeat that by minus the penalty? Would be his first win. First podium since Austria. But right now it's Avesta in the Alfa Romeo who leads on the safety car. Without a penalty and 5-lap-old hards matching that of Tim Rollfish, the car directly behind him. We're weaving hard to get some temperature into those hards. Famous tyre to not want to do a restart on. Famous tyre you do want to do a restart on. Situation depending, is Omar softs at the end. He's going bold, looking to make up the positions he's gained and then lost in this race so far. There's Avesta weaving his way down the straight. Safety car disappearing in the distance. Not quite disappearing into the pits just yet, but it has now entered. And Avesta will soon enough be free to put his foot down. And when will he do that? Chicane incoming. You'd think he would go before it. And he does. Tim Rollfish was wise to it. Whoa. I thought he'd gone, but he seems to have stopped again. I'm not sure if that was him going, but either way, he's gone now. No doubt about that. Some position changes at the back there, as there was a bit of bunching up, but at the front, all seems fine as Kinkiski tries to fend off Harry. He's got to be dangerous. He's got to be careful when he cuts across to the inside here, because he had a Haas just alongside him, but he makes it through cleanly. Making it through cleanly was Vito at the front there, getting past Tim. As further back, that's a spin, and it's Charlie again on a restart, being tagged around, and to the back of the field he goes. Incidents there in a huge bunch of cars. Afonso trying to make his way through on Lord Percival. Down the inside he goes. Lord Percival's off the track. Where will he rejoin? Alongside Afonso, and he'll keep fending that position. Afonso though has the inside. He won't appreciate Lord Percival leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Afonso takes advantage by moving his car ahead. And just behind that there's Omar on those soft tyres, moving up 5 or 6 positions. He's into P10 now and past Blaze Tim cleanly. As Lord Percival cuts the corner, gets a penalty. That was a blatant cut of the corner and a blatant shake through the spine for the AlphaTauri driver as he jumped over both curves. King Enzo is the next target for Omar. Target in terms of actually torpedoing into the back of him. The different braking points catching him out there as yellow flags, and that's Avesta spinning from the lead. Avesta coming a cropper as Tim gets back ahead of Vito at the front. Avesta has spun out from the lead. And Afonso will see that as a bit of karma. It wasn't Avesta's fault that Afonso had spun, but that's now all 4 of our title rivals having incidents in this race. Yellow flags again. This time it's Quentin, and this is Quentin out the race. I believe he's retired on track, so that will be a penalty of some sort for the next round, the final round. But either way, Quentin now out of the race here in Canada, and Harry, who's made his way past King Kiski, is now into a podium position. You didn't see that coming when he had wing damage on lap 1. Yet to pit, well, say yet to pit. He has pit, but he's on very old hards. He'll have to pit again at some point, as he's up the back of Vito as well now, who's on old mediums, and his tyres beginning to die as we see Tim has run away from him. King Kiski, Afonso right up behind Vito as well. And Omar is up to P9 now after Avesta's spin on those soft tyres, as Afonso through goes the Ferrari on the customer team, King Kiski, down to P5 with a penalty, and medium tyres that are probably beginning to crying on Harry's fronts as he locks them up into the chicane. He's got to look in his mirrors because Afonso is eyeing him up here. Afonso, the only driver out of this gaggle of 4 cars here to have pit under that safety car. Harry makes his way past Vito into P2, the lead driver of the title rivals. But how much longer will that be? Because Afonso into turn 1 isn't close enough to Vito. Vito isn't close enough to Harry. But almost pushing him through turn 2. Avesta getting past Charlie. There's a little bit of a battle back there, but a battle at the front. Afonso cutting the corner. That's going to be a warning for the Ferrari driver, you'd expect, as Omar gets a penalty for too many warnings, and Vito and Afonso both bit twitchy in the braking zone, not knowing where each other are braking. Vito going defensive. Afonso eyeing him up, and surely at the next DRS zone he's going to fly by, whether Vito has DRS or not. Harry hasn't run away from Vito though, so Vito will be looking for his overtake of his own as Afonso sneaks a nose up the inside. Harry locks up and backs Vito further back into the clutches of Afonso, and through he goes. King Enzo joins this fight. He's onto the back of King Kiski, who has not exactly slipped away from these guys either. Tim Rolfesh hasn't exactly slipped away from this battle either. Harry, in fact, may even be reeling him in now, as Afonso, despite being taken out earlier on in this race, a win is definitely on the cards for him still. As Harry has been dispatched as he tries to go on the outside. He's forced off the track slightly with a bit of contact. Vito, through goes Vito. Makes it through wide, gets through. The other Red Bull of King Enzo looking to come through as well. Afonso's had troubles through this corner already, and he's having troubles again as he's forced over the grass and gets a penalty. Harry looking to send it around the outside. He's nothing doing there. King Kiski and Lord Percival stacked right up behind as well. This is an almighty battle between half the field in this race. Hazard Time and Charlie and Avesta looking to join in as well as they slowly catch this huge battling pack. Both the Red Bulls though on this lap, and the early parts of this lap, forcing their way through, and both into a podium position. I think Afonso will have something to say about King Enzo's move in particular, and maybe a bit about Harry into turn 1. But it's cost the both of them. And Enzo now through on Vito, the 2 reserves filling in for Red Bull today. Swapping positions as we enter lap 18. Tim Rolfesh, after the scuffle on that last lap, has now run away by a second, but again being reeled in. King Enzo, Vito, Afonso looking at the back of the Red Bull reserve as we ride on board. That's a mistake from Vito. Into the wall he went. There's a bit of lag and he's back ahead of Afonso, so that's confusing to say the least. The two will battle it out by ghosting, and Afonso gets the better exit. And this time he is now ahead of the Argentinian driver. Harry behind. Watching Vito lag about, watching Vito now get a penalty. Harry one of the few without. A consistent driver to say the least. King Kiski, what can see in his mirrors, Charlie diving past Lord Percival. Charlie also without a penalty. And that's a position gain for the Mercedes driver, who's had so many incidents today, yet still is in a fight for a podium. And with penalties into account, I believe he'd on track to get one as King Enzo gets passed by Afonso. Harry past Vito, but we saw in the back when he spun into the wall when he's out of the race and a virtual safety car is deployed into the Wall of Champions. You're not a champion yet, Harry, and with incidents like that, he's watching the title slip away from him. The driver in P3 in the standings, suffering just before lap 19. Out the race he goes, and out comes the virtual safety car. Harry, who I just called a consistent driver, coming cropper to the commentator's curse. I'm very sorry. But it's Tim Rolfesh, who's very glad that wasn't a full safety car. In P1, long way to go on hards to take and a long way. Well, Afonso now, through all the battling, got past King Enzo with the penalty, which, you know, he'll debate whether or not it was deserved or not. Very much a Sebastian Vettel scenario in a number 5 Ferrari. Coincidence? I think not. Well, I'm not accusing King Enzo of doing that on purpose. Okay, so maybe it was a coincidence. But Afonso in P2 with King Enzo in P3. King Kiski, his fellow king there, sitting in P4. And it's getting bad, so worse for Avesta, who had his spin, which we didn't quite see how it was caused, but he's now got to drive through. Lewis having incidents once again on that chicane further back. He's now got no wing, he's now got no wheel, and he's out the race as well. Charlie, who's now also got a penalty, a virtual safety car is out yet again. And Avesta just about, I believe, got into service drive-through. Yes, he did. Very, very good time from the championship leader, and it potentially has saved his race because he'll come out in P8 just behind Lord Percival. Good thinking from Avesta. Well, good thinking, good timing. And it's now a full safety car. I've missed that. So it saved Avesta a lot. And Tim Rolfesh, who moments ago was probably glad no full safety car comes out. Well, guess what? 30 seconds later, bang, out comes a full safety car. Felper has pit onto mediums, which he's used before in this race, but much, much newer than the ones or the tyres he was back on. And Omar back onto the softs. They worked from last time. Will he attempt to get these to the end? Because there's not a chance they're going the full way. Bagging on potential of the safety car, maybe Omar. At the back of the field again on a safety car restart, but because of the retirement, it's only P12 this time. Tim Rolfesh, unsurprisingly, dives into the pits, but surprisingly wasn't careful enough and has sped, which is going to cost him massively. King Kiski is sped on the safety car and received a drive-through as well. That's going to cost him a lot. And softs are the choice for Enzo and Afonso. So are the softs going to go to the end? Are these drivers risking it, or are the softs, well, not as bad as I thought they'd be? Charlie as well opting for them. Tim Rolfesh and King Kiski went to the mediums, but two drivers who have costed themselves with penalties on the safety car. Vito stays out on 2-lap-old hards. Interesting choice, and he doesn't benefit all too much from it as he goes to P6 ahead of Hazard Time, who's on softs with one of the many drivers on a penalty. Lord Percival out. Those are mediums. Avesta back in the pits. This time was able to service his car. He's on mediums. Placed Tim further back, who we haven't seen much since the start of the race. On the softs, which long ago he started this race on. Felper pitted the lap before, doesn't benefit too much from it. On those mediums, Omar, who I questioned going to softs for the second time this race, is well, in the majority for choosing that tyre. So then, we saw King Kiski get a penalty for something on the safety car, for speeding on the safety car, getting a drive-through. Something else flashed up, and who was that, and what was it? It's a drive-through for Felper as well at the back, speeding on the safety car. We've seen how fair a few drive-throughs this race. I'm not sure why. Obviously a track difficult to keep it under Delta for so many drivers in this race. And a safety car which provides opportunities for all drivers across the field, has ripped away the opportunity for Kinkiski, who's sitting in P4, will be by far his best result this season, and for Felper as well, who was at the back of the field and needed a safety car. He's going to have to come in, serve a drive-through, and lose an ungodly amount of time doing so on tyres, which are probably the second worst of the whole field so far. Vito on hards on a restart, surrounded by cars and softer tyres. It's going to be interesting for him on that strategy. We'll check the penalty situation. Tim Rolfesh speeding in the pits, 8 seconds. Afonso 3, King Enzo 1 of 2 drivers without a penalty. The other being Avesta. Avesta keeping it clean. It's one of his only hopes now, having had a bit of a scruffy time of it in the last few laps. Only real chance of getting a proper result. He's got the pace to build his way back up, but through traffic he's going to lose time to the leaders, that's for sure. And the rest mostly having 3 seconds. 6 for Blaze Tim and Hazard time though. 16 positions gained for King Enzo. Starting at the very back once again. A drive of the day performance from a driver at the back of the field. If you can see it through, that is. Vito wanting to pull alongside Charlie. We've seen a Red Bull do that on a Mercedes before, and Charlie was not a fan of it. Cut across the Red Bull and has since stopped him from doing it. It is a move that is not allowed in VRP. And there's damage at the back of the field to one of the cars. That's either Lord Percival or Vesta. But Tim's gone, and the field is massively separated. They've caught each other out there. Hazard time is into the pits. Is he the driver who suffered wing damage on that restart? You'd have to say so, because why else would he come into the pits? Felper serving his drive through immediately, and Afonso is already all over the back of Tim. Those soft tyres helping him out, and Afonso's going to go for the move early. Down the inside he looks, left just about enough room. It's a great defensive move from Tim to stop Afonso going through, but it seems like it's only a matter of time, because not even DRS active, but Afonso's alongside, going down the inside. There's contact, Tim's off the track. For the second time, Afonso overtaking an AlphaTauri has resulted in them going off the track at that corner. Into the hairpin, braking zone. There was not a lot of room for 2 cars there, but Afonso is the car that has gone through, and Tim now under pressure from the Red Bull of King Enzo, who is on softs as well. And surely you'd have to say Tim probably going to lose this position as well. He's going to defend it with all he's got. And he does do that for sure. Contact between the two. They're lucky to stay out of the barrier. King Enzo now another driver with a penalty. He's going to probably debate whether or not that one was deserved, because there was contact into the chicane. But either way, he's got the penalty now, but he's got the tyre advantage. Charlie eyeing up these two as well for a potential podium. Avesta, the one without any penalties, has made his way through that pack and now can focus on gaining on the cars in front. It's Charlie behind King Enzo, behind Tim Rolfesh, and it's Afonso who's now running away in the lead. We've seen this before, just a very long time ago in this race now, it feels. Omar, who started this safety car restart at P12, has made his way into P8. He's on a good point streak at the moment. Once again, Omar really comes alive at the end of the seasons. He doesn't start either season well, but he's ended both seasons strongly and is set to make his way into the top 10 with this result, as Kinkiski served his drive through, now 6 seconds back from the pack. The Hasses, who it started so well for, now both in the bottom 3 of this race now, as Afonso sets the fastest lap. It's a 1:12 dead. Charlie looking at King Enzo, nothing doing there, and he's got to be careful in traction. He's on for a good result at the moment. He's got to not throw this away, and that the little hairy moment there for the Mercedes driver has forced him wide, but he's not lost a lot of time. Blazed Tim into the pits. I'm not sure what's happened there. Potential wing damage maybe for the Alpine. That promotes Felper up into the points, Kinkiski up to P9, and Omar has no pressure from behind anymore. No pressure Vito, whose hard start has not benefited him, unsurprisingly, and Omar will close him down, at least aim to close him down, as Vito now gets a penalty as well, to add to his troubles as Charlie eyes the back of the Red Bull car. He can envisage that rear wing in his mind. He can close his eyes and still see it. If he opens his eyes again, he's not going to see it anymore because he's through into P3. And now it's a case of running away because he has that 3 second, Avesta does not, and all the time he's stuck in this traffic, Avesta will gain and gain and gain. All those times, all the laps he puts in now on those soft tyres, they're going to slowly wear on Avesta. This race will come to him. The one driver without any penalties. Every driver ahead right now will be hoping and praying he makes that slip up and receives one. Because as things stand, Avesta could be on to win this race. 3 seconds for most of the guys ahead, apart from Tim, who's on 8. And that's Blaze Tim with a penalty, who is now sat at the back of the field after that tyre and potential wing change. Alfonso, who was running away, being reeled back in now by Tim, whose tyres are coming to him. He hasn't got much ERS left. He's having to save down the straight, and maybe fighting so hard at the start of this restart wasn't the best of ideas. But either way, the tyre advantage will come to him with 9 laps to go. But before that advantage can come, he'll have Charlie pressuring him from behind. 0.6 behind, 0.3 behind. Avesta is on King Enzo. And Avesta's on for a brilliant drive here. If he can recover, wearing that Kevin Magnussen helmet in Alfa Romeo, this should be an amazing drive from the championship leader. As things stand, he will, trying to do some quick maths, he will keep the championship lead and actually win this race on penalties. 2 points the gap between himself and Alfonso at the top. There was a further 6 between P2 and P3 in the championship, which was Harry and P3. I'm sure that's going to change after this race. Another 5 points separated Harry from Lowell Percival in the championship. The top 4 separated marginally, and I'm sure the outlook on that's going to change after this race, as Avesta gets his way past King Enzo, and Charlie just ahead goes past Tim Rolfes, cuts to the inside to make sure of it. It's P2 for him, and massive consequences on this race and the title fight as a whole. Avesta does slip up and gives himself that third warning, that penalty, that 3 second, and well, the race win which he had in his hands so long as he could keep it clean for the last 8 laps is gone. He now has to do it on track, and that's now not impossible but a whole lot more difficult. He's going to have to put his foot down now and make some moves. That's not unless the drivers ahead also receive penalties, but is out of Avesta's hands, and Alfonso and Charlie will be cheering that on as well. Tim Rolfes has 8 seconds, so Avesta will be in a podium position as things stand. Maybe a bit of damage limitation if he can't quite close it all in. Speaking of closing in, Charlie's now just over a second behind Alfonso, losing a bit of time then on exit of the hairpin. But is Charlie potentially going to challenge for a race win? His first race win since round 1 this season around China. Canada, one of his favourite tracks. And I'm sure in this position he'll be confident to try and battle Alfonso. Alfonso, the driver who he had such a good battle with around China. Alfonso has taken 3 race wins, I think, this season. 3 or 2, and Charlie now has spun it into the wall. He spun it with his rear, so I believe he's probably got away without damage, but the Titans are not going to be pretty. And he's lost the position to Tim, but amazingly he's kept it from Avesta. He's going to have to defend now as Avesta sneaks it down the inside and into the braking zone. Avesta is now ahead. Oh, Charlie, who was one moment looking to probably challenge for a race win, is now going to have to challenge just to get on the podium again, as he goes very, very wide now. And well, I don't know if he's lost his head, but it's falling apart now for Charlie. King Enzo is now going to look to get past him, and the lap started strong for the Mercedes driver. It's now going to be a regretful one from him, as Avesta closes in on Tim. And the sooner he can get by him, the sooner he can go and charge after our race leader, Afonso, at the front. Further back, King Enzo hasn't been able to make a move on Charlie yet. Here was the incident, the corner that made the incident. It just seemed as if he turned in and there was no rear grip. The rear gave up, slammed into the wall, and once again it's having a hairy moment as Vito's lagged out. I'll have to invite him back. But in doing so, I'll miss some action, so decisions. Avesta just 0.4 behind Tim. King Enzo just 0.4 behind Charlie. We could see two position changes here as Charlie locked up going into the chicane. But Avesta almost definitely going to make this move on Tim this lap. And these two both have closed 4 tenths on Afonso this lap. So this race win is not out of the question yet. They've both closed 7 tenths now within Afonso. Afonso is going to have to conserve everything for the last 5 laps and keep ahead as Charlie stays ahead of Enzo. Harry has said he was hit by the reserve and didn't spin on his own. I will now invite Vito. So hopefully he can get back in, but his AI has pitted, which is not ideal for him. He's going to lose position from that. I'm very sorry for your disconnection. Avesta is within DRS of Afonso now. Tim has been dragged along by him. And just behind that, King Enzo is at the same distance behind Charlie as he was last lap. Of course, the battle between Charlie and King Enzo, as long as they keep it clean, is a battle for the 3rd place on the podium, because Tim Rollfish has 8 seconds, the others have 3, and Avesta has DRS. He'll get a double dose of it into turn 1. He gets to open that rear wing yet again and gain on Afonso. Picks his braking point, and he's got so much more grip, so much more traction than that Ferrari on the soft tyres. The soft tyres gave him such a good launch off the restart, but he's gradually being reeled in by a driver who not only had a spin, not only had a drive through, but was way down the field on the restart. And my god, has he driven so well to get it back up the field again. A little bit of a twitchy moment there in the dirty air, but it's not lost him too much. These drivers have identical ERS levels. And a bit of a moment from Afonso from Avesta has dropped him back just slightly. Whilst he's still within DRS, that slight amount may just have cost them an opportunity of making the move on this lap. Has a time receives another penalty at the back there, and so does Omar. But Afonso will use the DRS, not the ERS. He'll save that for a closer opportunity, but he'll use this lap just to close in. Afonso also hasn't used. King Enzo behind has made the move on Charlie, but got a penalty, and Lord Percival, I think on the exit off the chicane, has driven into the wall and lost some of his wing. So that will slow down his pursuit of Charlie and Enzo just ahead. Charlie, the car behind Enzo, but Enzo now with a penalty, and, well, he's made the move back. I don't know if Enzo's had an issue there. Or maybe Enzo's the one with damage. He got a penalty, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's had to cut over the chicane and gone into the wall. But, Charlie's back through, but 8 seconds behind Tim now. The Sots have well and truly fallen off. Fallen off a cliff, and well, the 8-second penalty Tim has. He had to keep within 5 seconds of him. He hasn't done that. And the podium looks to be heading Tim Rollfish's way despite everything. And despite everything, Avesta has fought back through the field, and he's going to go side by side with Alfonso. There's not much room there. But they both keep it clean, and Avesta will focus on the exit so that he can get into turn 1. Felper has had an issue. No safety car. Alfonso would have prayed for that. As into turn 1 they go. Avesta has the inside. Alfonso looks to hang around the outside. There's contact. They're leaning on each other. And through the exit, Avesta gets it. And Alfonso spun into the wall. They couldn't unconnect from each other's cars. And whilst Avesta takes the lead, it has dramatic consequences further behind. Alfonso will keep hold of P3, but with very, very overheated tyres following a spin and potential damage, because I think he did go front wing first into that wall. Avesta now hanging on to the lead from Tim, who will at least want to overtake him on the road. He could potentially get a penalty removed. He won't get the he won't get the 5-second removed, because that's slam dunk speeding in the pit, but if he can make a move, he can get anything can happen, and anything can happen. Alfonso's out of the race with 2 laps to go. I'm not sure what's happened further back there, if it's a spin on his own or during a battle with Charlie and King Enzo, but one of the championship protagonists is out of the race, and with Harry also out the race and Lord Purcell down in P5, Avesta could be close to wrapping up the championship with a round to go. He's got to hold on from Tim Rollfish, and if he does that, he'll have his 4th win of the season. Further back, despite everything, Charlie 10 seconds behind, but clinging on to a podium. King Enzo charging up behind. He has 3 seconds more than Charlie, so Charlie can have some sense of comfort. As 10 cars will finish this race, everyone who's finished will guaranteed get a point. It's a joint record for the least cars to finish a VRP race is 10. And that 10th car is close to being lapped, as Charlie, on the last lap, gets that penalty to match Enzo's penalty count behind him. Now, his comfortable barrier has disappeared. But a comfortable barrier at the front of the championship will come Avesta's way as he comes round the final corner, weaving to celebrate a 4th win of the season, ahead of Tim Rollfish, and Avesta's championship picture looks a whole lot more realistic now, as Charlie clinging on from King Enzo just behind. It's a drag race to the line, which Charlie wins out by 9,000ths of a second. King Enzo in fact had another penalty in the end, and he'll drop behind Lord Percival, at least provisionally, due to those penalties. Omar behind will come home to grab P6, his best result of the season. Omar again finishing this season strong. Well, he won't get P6 because King Kiski benefits on the penalties. He gets his positions back after serving the drive-through. Up to P6, a great result for Haas as Vito crosses the line. He hasn't won the race by 3 minutes and 44 seconds. If he did that, my God, would that be a debut performance and a half. He'll come home 9th or 8th, I believe. 8th for Vito. Hazard time will be 9th, and Blaze Tim, who was almost lapped, so they're priced to do a whole lap of the circuit once more, will be our 10th across the line, across the curb as well. To the line he comes. P10 for Blaze Tim, and a point for the reserve in the Alpine. What a race! Drama throughout the field, drama in the title fight, and many coming a cropper. A lot of drivers will have a lot to say, a lot of drivers will have reports to give, the results will change potentially. So look out for that on the Virtual Racing Project Instagram account. But what a race for Avesta. made his way all the way back through the field and comes home to take the win. Well, what a race. Be sure to follow the Instagram account to see the end results and the championship picture going into the final round, but until then, join us next week for the final round around Brazil, same time next week. Goodbye.